Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here, gratefully recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, drop me a comment, and by all means share with anybody you think might get something out of it. Other than that, happy Monday, everybody. How y'all doing? Another beautiful day. Looks like the weather is finally here. It's going to be a little hot tomorrow, but I'm not going to start complaining about that already. Beautiful day. Hard day, busy day, rewarding day. At the end of the day, we had cut out a whole bunch of brass pipe out of a ceiling, and my buddy mentioned there's like, oh, scrap's really high right now, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I got a huge pile of it behind the dumpster I need to get rid of before, it's kind of making a mess. So, I'm like, maybe I can pay my worker out of the scrap today, right? Went to the scrapyard and had triple what I thought I had, and that's amazing because, in addiction, I didn't leave, $600 worth of copper and brass laying around just for whatever. Today it's like, whatever, it's there for a rainy day. It's one of the beautiful things. I'm not chasing dollars. I'm not owned by a disease anymore, and I get to make better decisions, and it's what we're going to talk about in the reading today, guys. Connecting to our conscience is the name of the... actually, we're going with the new reading today, guys. Somebody recommended last night at the speaking commitment I was in. I was telling somebody about the channel and how I do the readings and talk about it, and she suggested the Just for Today spiritual quote of the day, and I'm like, ooh, I like the sound of that, so I checked it out. This one's a really good one, so we're going to go with that. It's called Connecting to Our Conscience. It's the Just for Today spiritual principle of the day. We learn to listen to our conscience, that still small voice within us that tells us if we're heading in the right direction. Some might argue that the solutions to our problems, the answers to our moment-to-moment decisions, and our big life choices have always been within our reach. We just haven't been listening to our conscience. We've been unable to hear it because of the competing, confusing cacophony of noise in our heads, the squeaky hamster wheel of thoughts that we can't get off of. Others of us feel as if we've never had a conscience, and it's something that we develop only once we become abstinent and start working a program. We come to the opinion that our disease speaks to us, and in our own voices, no less, and is the sole influence for our bad decisions. Conversely, our conscience is an expression of our higher power, is the source of positive influences. Whatever your opinions about the origin story of our conscience, we can all agree that we can do a lot to cultivate our sensitivity to the voice of our higher self. We get clean and humble enough to ask for help. We listen to each other's experiences of recovery. The work we do on ourselves in the steps, and the work we do for others in service awakens us enough to experience our conscience. Many of us would say our conscience has become clearer, more distinct, and more dependable as we've grown in recovery. It becomes easier to access because we've been able to turn down the static brought on by its evil twin, our disease. We learn to quiet our minds, and through prayer and meditation we gain a lot of practice in not just being able to hear it, but also in listening to what it actually has to say. My conscience is my inner guide, a member wrote. It's a driving force that gives me what I need to make an honest decision. Now, I still can't control outcomes, but by choosing wisely, I can accept them with integrity. Then the affirmation is, just for today, my conscience is there when I listen, helping me to stay connected to my new way of life. And guys, I was so happy when somebody recommended a spirit, because again, for me, it's all about being spiritual and finding the spiritual cure to my life in addiction, not just the disease of addiction, but my life in addiction. And so when I heard spiritual reading of the day, I looked it up and I love it, and this is a great reading. Now, again, I'm not going to ever say somebody's right or wrong in how they feel about it. Myself, I believe my conscience was always there, but I was able to override it, ignore it, repress it, and just shut it down. But it's that level, that's what brought me to that level of despair alongside of the drugs. I can't blame the drugs for all the decisions I made, right? I was able to ignore my conscience, and that's why I was miserable. And I believe it's a big part of why I came in. It wasn't the physical rock bottom this time. It had just gotten to a point where I realized that I was getting older in my life, and I was burning yet another ground. When I came to Somerville, I was given a fresh start. After coming out of being homeless and some of the traumas that I had endured in that last run before 2017, and I found a home here. I found a place that I felt comfortable, and I was able to build a life, and I chose drugs again, and I burned a lot of opportunities to the ground. Now, I knew it was coming up. Like, if I continued doing what I was doing, I was about to be homeless, and I was about to be run out of this town like I'd been run out of everywhere else I'd ever been. And I couldn't. Like, no. Like, I just couldn't. So I finally became willing. First of all, I finally came to the understanding that I couldn't do this on my own. Left to my own devices, I screw it up everywhere I go because I was bringing me with me wherever I went. So I did something I'd never done. I dropped to my knees, and I'm sorry, no, the first times I didn't drop to my knees. I do that now. I didn't start then, but I said a prayer. And I didn't ask to get out of a jam. I didn't ask to find a way to save my apartment. I asked God to let me walk in His light, to guide me. I invited Him into my life, into my heart, into my world. And I asked Him to guide me. And again, I started receiving downloads. I started receiving feelings. I started seeing the misery where I was at. And I wasn't taking action. And fortunately, I continued to pray because it was the one thing I was doing that made me feel good. So God kept giving me more and more signs. And finally, He got to me through other people because, again, I didn't have the strength to surrender on my own. But it came in bits and pieces. And He finally put somebody in my way that got me into a hospital. And I did manage to walk out of the hospital because I manipulated. But I get home, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, what did I just do? I'm like, that was the lifeline that I've been begging for. And I walked away from it over another bag of poison. So I finished that bag of poison, and while I was doing so, I called rehabs, and I got myself a bed for the next morning. And it was overwhelming, guys, because I knew for once I was going to do this. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew I had to. Like, I knew I had to do whatever it took this time because, like, it was now or never. And because I've been praying, I just kept getting that the voice of my conscience saying, you can do this. Like, we can do this. You've done hard things before. Take it slow and listen and just, learn, do what's put in front of you. And that's basically what I've been doing for the last 17, 18 months since. And it was about 17 and a half months. I had a month in rehab, and I had the slip, and I came home. And that was a God shot, too, because it put me directly onto the path. And that's the thing. Once you start living a spiritual life, guys, everything matters. Like, everything that's in front of you is there for a reason. If you're being honest and you're having a conscious contact relationship with your higher power, you're just trying to do the best. Doesn't mean you have to have all the answers, and it certainly doesn't mean you can't make mistakes, because I made a lot of them. But I had the courage to recognize them when I could and make them right, and even pivot mid-step and say, whoa, I know, I can't do this. I tried to honor all my commitments, like, I talk about a lot. I went back to my old job because I told him I would, and I got there, and he drove right to the drug dealer's house. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And I said something, and for the next few days, that was my first major test of faith. Well, I put my needs first. Well, I admit that I can't be where I am. And it was a big one because they were all my friends. It was my boss was a friend. It was all I had. I knew with the record I have, I couldn't go fill out an application and expect to get hired. So it was terrifying, but I knew I also couldn't stay there. And at that point, I didn't have any credibility to go, really do much else. But it didn't matter because I prayed and I meditated, and everything kept telling me, you can't be there. Something else will give. Don't fear the unknown. You can do this. God's got you. And that was everything I was understanding. So I did. I quit with nothing else in hand. And again, I didn't make the decision on my own. I prayed and meditated and said, God, please show me what I'm supposed to do. And it came to me. Just focus on recovery. I'll provide for you. And He did. All of a sudden, just what I needed would drop in my hand. I'd get a job to go, make $100. And I didn't need much at that point, And then I got the raft rent help to give some money to my landlord. So I was getting caught up in my rent. Landlord saw I was trying, and I was even willing to make changes in my life to stay clean. I was putting recovery first. He started feeding me more work, and it was about 6 weeks later, I had so much work coming in that I started my business, and it's a source of pride for me today. Like, I'm thriving. I'm in positions I never dreamed I could be. I did dream. Back when I used to get high, I'd spout off and they would daydream. Someday I'm gonna do this. All those things I used to say, today I do. And that's the difference, guys. Recovery has allowed me to do the things that I dreamed of. Further, when I was praying and meditating in recovery, every single day I would get this overwhelming download to start this YouTube channel. And then I get out and I'm like terrified. I didn't have any teeth. I had that skin growth. I was withered away. I looked terrible. And I didn't have any knowledge. And I didn't know what I was supposed to do and how it would be received. But every day I was just told this was important, so do it. So I did. I was terrified. You get on here, you go back and look at my first videos. I barely made any sense. I didn't know what I was talking about. But I just shared where I was at, because that's all I had at that point. But I knew it was important. And in my mind, I'm like, well, what, somebody going to see this and bring me on stage and give me a job? No. What it was is I was building a forum that was going to make me hold myself accountable to a level that I never knew existed. It was going to start opening doors to working on my traumas, learning how to be honest, learning how to be introspective, learning how to communicate and share with others, giving me added drive to work on myself so I could show a progression of what's possible in recovery. And that's why I started at day one. And I even said so. I said, I know I'm on here and I don't have much to say, and I'm not, but I've been told by God if I keep showing up every day, things are going to get better beyond my wildest dreams. I called it out right on video. And boom, it's happened right before my eyes, and anybody that's been watching, and boy, is it beautiful. That's the result of learning to still my mind, to stop listening to disease of recovery, to fight the disease of recovery, not on my own, but with the community around me. I went out and I found my home group the next day. It's the same day I started the channel. I got a service position. I'm now I'm a key holder. I'm a chairperson. I'm in the service committee. I go on speaking commitments. Like, I work recovery in my life. I produce videos every single day. I've made a video. I think I missed the one day that I was in surgery. I think the day after tomorrow, I'm going to have 500 continuous days of recovery. And the day after tomorrow, I'll have 500 consecutive days of recovery. And I'll have 500 consecutive videos that I've made. Like, I've shown up for my recovery. I've got a sponsor. As a matter of fact, my sponsor just texted me today, congratulating me that we finished the first step and we're moving on to the second step. Like, I honor every opportunity for recovery, because recovery is everything to me today. It has allowed me to be who I am today. And it's nothing special, it's nothing glamorous, but it's possible, it's stable, I'm thriving, I have a future, I've got a level of security I've never known, I've got a level of self-respect that I never dreamed I'd ever see. I feel qualified today to get on here and promote recovery because I work recovery. And those are the promises God made me. And then He keeps telling me, keep showing up, it's going to keep getting bigger and better. And it's exactly what I've seen in my life, guys. I say it often. What we seek, we find. And I've been seeking spirituality. I've been seeking the best version of myself. I've been seeking miracles in my life. And it's exactly what I found, one after the other. And there's nothing special about me other than I've shown up when I never used to. So I've made changes. That's what's required in recovery. The reason I promote this, guys, is because anybody out there watching thinks this can't happen for them, well, it's because you're not trying. I said that to somebody last night. They're like, when I shared my story, I had people in tears in that meeting last night, and they came up and like, thank you so much. You know, what made it like flipping a switch? I said, well, I invited God into my life, and I showed up for recovery, and I just do the best I can. It's available to anybody that wants it and is willing to go after it. But we don't get recovery through osmosis, guys. We can't just show up in a meeting one time and be recovered. It's not a destination, it's a lifestyle. But if you, it's like anything else, if you put your heart and soul into it, you're going to get a heart and soul out of it. And that's a beautiful thing, guys. You know, I love getting on here and sharing every day. I love being a part of my life today. It has taught me things I never knew. First of all, it taught me things I didn't know. But I've showed up every day and I've learned. When I started early on, I started doing the work, and I realized some of the issues I had, first and foremost, was that I was ignoring my conscience. Like, I come to understand that I did have an internal compass, but I had shut it down. And I let it thrive today. And the way I learned to do that, guys, I talk about all the time, is learning to pause. All these things I used to laugh at when I'd hear and be like, if you're all wound up and emotional, how are you telling me to pause and not act before I think about it? Yeah, it's exactly what they're telling us. It's what's required of us to make good decisions, because when we're emotional and we let our emotions take over, we don't make good decisions. Simple as that. Nobody does. That's not just for addicts. That's for a lot of people. So you got to learn to control your emotions. Every one of us can. I'm living proof of it. And I did that myself. Prayer, meditation, listening to others, sharing my story. Guys, when I first started working in recovery, I used to get so choked up I could barely speak. But I did it anyway, because that's one of the things I heard. It's okay to be scared. Do it scared. So I did, right? And I lost that fear. The other thing I've come to know, and anybody will find, the more you rely on your higher power for wisdom, for guidance, the more you'll see Him at work in your life. And before long, that insecurity and that fear goes away. Not that you think you're better than anybody else, but you know you're not alone. You know you have nothing to fear, because nothing will happen in your life that you can't handle. When I look at the totality of what I've been through and what I've overcome and come through unscathed, there's not much I can fear. I mean, if I'm walking down the street and somebody jumps up and puts a gun to my head and is about to shoot, yeah, that's going to terrify me. But that's not, the chances of that aren't very big, so I don't let that hold me back. I don't stay in at night and not go outside because of it. And I don't run around afraid of that, because I know my higher power will guide me out of it. I mean, anything random can happen. There's something for everything, but I don't go to places that are going to get me in trouble. And that's the other thing, guys. Sometimes in recovery, it's hard. Not everybody is willing to reinvent themselves. Why not? When you stop back and look at it, guys, how many times have we done something and then sat back and looked at it and said, well, that wasn't very good, and I should have known it was coming, but I was all caught up in the moment, and it was this, it was that. No, it was me. I made bad decisions. It was never anybody else's fault for anything I did. Yes, I didn't have all the best breaks in life, but that's okay. I was strong in other areas that I could have leaned on. I could have opened. It comes down to being open, honest, and willing. And that's what I am today. I'm very open, I'm very honest, and I'm very willing. At least the best I have. I know it will continue to grow, because I'll continue to do the work, and I'll find other levels of my life where I was either lying to myself or things will come up, and I'll address them properly today. The code to a better life is not one thing, but it's recovery. If you want to encompass it into one word, it's recovery. But recovery's got very many layers to it. We've got to physically get off the drugs. We've got to let them get out of our system and clean our head mentally. That's where the steps come in. We need a power greater than ourselves to beat a chronic, lifelong, deadly disease. That's where the higher power comes in. We're communal animals. We need community. That's where meetings come in. We need somebody to guide us that we can talk to on the day-to-day and bounce things off of. Because sometimes when we hear the ridiculousness that we spout otherwise, but we share it with one human being we trust, and most often sponsors will say, think about that, and what do you think? They won't tell you what you have to do, but they'll help you make sense of it. So you need a sponsor. We all need help. For me, I needed more than that. I needed a therapist. I needed a team of doctors. I needed a dentist, a dermatologist, therapist, recovery coach, recovery advisor. And that's okay. I'm okay with that today. I used to say, oh no, that's for this, and that's fine for the people that need it, but that's not me. I'm strong. No, I was losing, and I was too far lost to even know what I needed. So this time around, when I realized everything was wrong, I went against everything I would normally do and accepted everything and said, you know what? A strong man accepts everything available and then passes on what he doesn't need to somebody else that does. That's a strong man. That's a good man. That's what I try to do today. Guys, living spiritually, it is blessed. It is beautiful. I look at the world so differently today, and I love the way I look at it today, because it's not all doom and gloom. It's all opportunity and beauty today. It doesn't mean it's always easy. There are hard things. Life is hard. I deal with hard things. I deal with angry, irate people. I deal with people trying to get over on me. I deal with deaths in the family. We deal with hard things. But it doesn't mean if I let that overwhelm me and take me out of myself, because when I'm in myself and I'm at my higher self, I uplift people. I change other people's lives and positivity. I hear it all the time. I like that today. So if I let the world beat me down, I'm robbing other people of the gift that I'm capable of. Because I understand that today, my extreme positivity is a gift from God that's meant to be shared. And it's funny, I remember the early days I used to say, every one of us has got a gift. I had no idea. I thought mine was my mechanical skills and my ability to fix things. No, that's a job. That's not my gift. My gift is my ability to uplift, my ability to share and make somebody else feel better about their life and possibly show them the way. That's my gift. And I'm honored to be able to share that today. But if I didn't give recovery a shot, I'd be robbing everybody, myself, everybody, of that gift. Guys, that's a video for today. Thank you so much for being here with me. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. We'll see you in the next one.